Which life experience is a lot worse than most people think it is. Living in a war, people are very alienated from the sense of total chaos around them, and I hope they never experience it. It's a lot less dramatic and more dramatic at the same time than the news portrays it. Life around you becomes dull. People walk around without a purpose. Their energy and life drained by the constant perpetuating fear of not living to see the next day. Military around you 24/7. My friends back home can now identify what type and model of a bomb depending on the sound and level of shockwave. War changes people, and never in a good way. I'm always shocked by the number of people who think skunk spray is not a big deal. Probably only smelled it in the distance. No one knows how bad it really is. When your parents don't care about you. I mean, there are abusive parents that treat you like crap and do bad things to you, but parents who just let you do anything and not rewarding nor punishing you in any way are also bad. If you care and try to impress them, you'll realize that all they can give you is MHM. Cool. And that can lead to a lot of mental problems. But if you are the opposite and do bad things because you lack guidance in life, you pretty much will destroy yourself. Either way, this is bad. Sometimes in your teens your friends might be like, your parents are so chill. They don't have a problem with you doing this and that. I wish I had parents like that, but in reality you would love to have at least a little bit of love and care, which you never had. This is so true. I remember longing to get grounded in high school. I would act out so terribly, not listen to the house rules in hope of a response, but nobody was ever bothered. Having your house robbed. It doesn't seem like a huge deal, but it feels like your space has been violated. When home alone, I was always worried someone else was sneaking around my house. A few months ago, someone graffitied my van while I was sleeping inside it. I still feel unsafe. Having any sort of chronic bowel issue disease. Oh sure, it sounds whatever. Oh, you just poop a lot, right? Nah son. I hope you're ready for gut cramping, painful gas, dehydration from crapping your guts out because you had the audacity to so much as look at a trigger food, increased chance of hemorrhoids, crapping blood from irritation of your insides. So much wasted time sitting doing frick all and the going to and from the bathroom, circulatory fuckery from sitting and having your legs go numb, skin cracking and subsequent skin infections caused by overwashing your hands. Not to mention the social ramifications of being that guy who's always in the bathroom. Not to mention how much your gut affects your mental health, even without taking the physical symptoms into account. Most people don't understand how closely linked they are. Blacking out for the first time, not the during, obviously, but afterwards when you realize it's possible to remember nothing, just like sleep, but still have been interacting with people in regretful ways. I hate when you have the feeling as soon as you wake up of where and what the frick, and yo brain does a lil Windows XP reboot with a corrupt hard drive. Going through an incurable disease, yeah, you become stronger as a person and some of your humor is fricked up, but I would rather be healthy. As a person who has to live with the freaking HLA-B51 gene, thank you for this. I'm not joking. I'm legit appreciating the fact that you acknowledge it. Having a parent with dementia. She didn't recognize her son this week, her brother last month. I dread the day where she no longer recognizes me. My father has schizophrenia and it's really fricked up. I see him getting arrested because something he can't control, and it's really crappy that his medication takes all his money and knowledge. Sometimes he even forgot I'm his son. Any addiction. Leaving a toxic abusive relationship. Most people say it's hard, it's scary, and difficult, but some people don't understand that leaving those relationships, you start all the way in the beginning again. You are basically just beat up dust by the time you leave relationships like them. You got lost in an abusive relationship. People spend years rebuilding who they are, their strength, and trust with people. It took me around 5-6 months just to become functional again from a 1-year relationship of severe manipulation and gaslighting. This isn't even mentioning people who might have kids and were married. They'd have to find a new job, new place to live, maybe even change identities. and rebuild their whole life because of one person they thought could change and be good to them. It completely destroys you, and I don't think enough people take it seriously. You also don't need to be physically beaten or told harsh insults to be considered in an abusive relationship. Sometimes they're so subtle, you spend years in them and not even realize. Psychosis, schizophrenia. Telly doesn't warn you about just how freaking terrifying it is to see, hear and experience hallucinations. I was 22 and curled up on my mum's lap, only watching Disney films cause everything else was just too dark and scary. I believed, straight up knew even, that my sausage and mash was made from dead family members, but I had to try to eat it cause I hadn't eaten in like a week. Homelessness. It feels like the fabric of society was trimmed around you. You don't exist to people. It's like you aren't a human being anymore. The only people who talk to you are other homeless people and predatory dealers looking for another mark. It's been nearly 5 years since I was last out on the streets, and it still affects my life, my mental state, and my self-worth. See, it really breaks my heart, because I often will try to acknowledge them. Because obviously they're still people deserving of dignity and respect, but they ask me for anything I can give them, and it hurts when I honestly tell them I don't have any cash. I want so badly to help them, and too often I can't. Actually being poor. Not being able to get a Tesla, the latest iPhone, Starbucks every day isn't poor. Not having food on a regular basis is poor. Owning one pair of pants for years is poor. My kids have asked if we're poor because we drive a truck from the 90s and don't have a Nintendo Switch yet. This big butt house, nice TVs and 2 Xbox Ones say we're distinctly not. That, and the excess of food we have. I still sometimes stand in my closet and cry because I'm so thankful for how many pairs of pants I have now. Treating alcoholism. It's a fight against yourself every day to not drink. Like how cartoons have an angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other. One says no and the other tries to convince you yes. I've attempted suicide twice and lucky it failed both times. I was sober for a year, but now I am not sober, but I am trying to quit again. Good luck. You can do this. Trying to revive a loved one. Doing CPR. Giving everything. And failing. I'm sure people think no man, I'm sure that's pretty frickin' bad I did. But you can't. No movie, book, story, or retelling prepares you. The nightmares. The doubt. It's in every sense of the word. Haunting. Yes, fight with death is hard, only few wins. But on the other hand, you will remember the person until your death. So he is kind of alive. I know. Crappy thought. Losing a parent. Like yeah, you kinda know it's gonna happen at some stage, but you never know how different life is without them. And house fire. Everyone knows that it can happen, but nobody knows how devastating it is when it does happen. You don't feel safe in your own home and feel afraid to sleep at night with earplugs in. And you never want to light a fire in the fireplace or use candles ever again. Getting bullied regularly in school. Not the rite of passage some people seem to think it is, and can make you stop caring about doing well in school at all and just focus on getting through the day. Fully agreed. That stuff affects your self-esteem for the rest of your life. Being unable to get a job right after graduating college. You spend all that money, you graduate with a high GPA, and you go out there interview after interview and come away with nothing. It's so defeating and draining, and you feel like a drain on people you feel you should be taking care of cause they didn't go to college. You're the first one to graduate college, so you should be rolling in the books, and instead you're still living at home with nothing while talking heads on the news call you lazy. Spoilers. That was me. And it was in 2008 when the recession hit, so it was really bad. Didn't find a steady job for 8 months. Now I'm doing amazing. I'm still baffled I ended up where I am now when I think back to how low I was, but at the time, I just wanted to fade away. Having OCD. Can't put into words how miserably unlivable my life is. It's a battle I have to remain indulged in every minute of the day. And yet people make so much light of it, toss it around so casually. Cutting some out of your life. I've had people tell me it shouldn't be that hard because you can just forget about them. Living with chronic illness. Healthy people haven't a clue. They think you get sick, you get better. I've good days and bad days. The shite I've been told over the years. You don't look sick. My cousin takes, insert random item here, They brilliant. You're just looking for attention. You're making it up. Not sure how I can fake blood test results, x-rays, scans etc. On and on it goes. People deny that you're sick because to admit it could happen to you and you not be able to get better is to admit that it could happen to them at any time for no reason at all. They're delusional. You see them coming out of the woodwork with this COVID crap too. Misapplied statistics is all they have when denial runs out. Going through depression, especially if your parents don't support you properly. My mom is literally the worst person to talk to about mental health, and my dad, who suffered a lot more than I have and has depression himself, just makes me feel like my problems don't matter. At least I have friends to talk to. Working customer service, including, perhaps especially, in a call center, the number of buttholes who are willing to completely ignore the fact that you are, yourself, a human person is insane. And for what, exactly? So you'll maybe give them a little extra discount that they're not entitled to? So you'll push the big red button that gives them exactly what they want. Except oh wait, that button doesn't fricking exist? Double it if you work in a place with a level of anonymity, where people don't feel the repercussions of their ashlery. Double it again if you're on the phones and so you have a maniacal beep in your ear every 30 seconds forcing you back into the crap mine. Quadruple it if your boss doesn't have your back, which happens all too often, because now they're out of that particular crab pit, it's no longer their problem. Oh, and you're probably going to be doing it for minimum wage too, or on a tip-based system, so if you don't suck it up with a smile on your face and a song in your heart, then you're going to struggle to make rent. If you haven't worked customer service, it's difficult to wrap your mind around how awful some people can be for such little benefit. Being in an abusive and toxic relationship. This includes family, partners, even best friends. It becomes a lot worse than it already is because your sense of normal is permanently, or at least for a long time, warped. People don't understand why you didn't leave as soon as possible, that it must be not that bad if you stayed. And the damage doesn't end when the relationship is over, either. You discover different aspects to your personality that weren't there before because your abuser was such a big part of your life, and you looked up to them so much that some aspects of their personality is now yours. I can go on and on. Your first serious heartbreak. The kind that takes your appetite away, so you have to force down a slice of toast in the morning because your jaw just won't chew and you survive off 4 or 5 coffees per day. Being the black sheep of the family. I'm gay and pagan, so when my sister, who is a pastor's wife, made me tell my parents, they kicked me out and told me they weren't coming to my wedding if I ever got married. The entire church got involved. My sister called me things like Satan lover, told me that I'm tearing our family apart, all that good stuff. My dad wouldn't even look at me the same for a long time. My family and I were always so close when I was growing up. It's hard. Amphetamine withdrawal. Not a recreational user. I have ADHD and take both Vyvanse and Adderall to control it. I was running low one month and thought missing a day or 2 of doses wouldn't be too bad. Christ, was I wrong? My mental state was confused and overwhelmed by hundreds of thoughts at the same time that were too fuzzy to process. I felt way worse than I did before I started my meds, and I was pee the entire time because of it. Getting bullied, at 4 years, by 15-year-old girls. More other abuse it is. Getting your testicle kicked and stuff as 4-year-old kid. I think it more lot worse than it sounds. As soon as you mentioned the kick to the testicles, I shriveled in pain just because of the memory of being kicked there. Being 28, not having a job, never been in a relationship, having depression and anxiety, not having self-esteem and confidence, etc. Yes, all at the same time. Losing a pet. No, it's not just a cat. Get another one. It is the loss of my best friend, my soulmate and my fur baby at the same time. Show some respect. This is a heartbreak and a grief just like any other. I absolutely agree. I lost my childhood dog almost a decade ago. Not a day goes by that I don't think of him. Losing him was one of the most emotionally devastating things to have ever happened to me. Being a single parent, especially if you're the only parent. Friends who are still married will constantly tell you, I would love to have a break from my kids every Wednesday and every other weekend. Lololol. Number. Just no. Having any sort of mental health problem. Average normal people just can't relate. They've had sprained ankles and flu and headaches before. They understand those, but they just can't comprehend what it is to have a different mindset. Hence the why don't you just hiss and the way they back away if you share anything too revealing. Going insane knowing someone who is going insane. It seems a bit like a joke but it's brutal. It's like having your free will violated. Mental illness. I have struggled with persistent depression, dysthymia, and social anxiety for majority of my life and I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. And I can't even imagine those going through something worse. To those who are struggling with their mental health yet still somehow staying strong, I give you my poor man's gold. Divorce. I've come to realize that my closest friends have never experienced divorce. I can't even relate to them. It changed everything. While true for some, for others it can be an incredibly freeing and cathartic experience. I guess it depends on which end of the power dynamic you were on. Being photophobic. It doesn't mean being afraid of taking photos or anything. It means your eyes are extremely sensitive to light. I have had this since I was 9 months old and I have seen people don't understand how bad it can be. Generalized anxiety disorder. You know the feeling when you're watching a movie and a jump scare is about to happen. Your heart is pounding. You're sweating, shaking, feeling like you can't breathe. Well, imagine that, but literally every day. During the most mundane situations, just completely at random. Weight gain due to chronic illness. I already had terrible self-esteem that centered around my body and the obsession my mum instilled in me around weight. Then I developed a condition that actively causes the body to gain and hold on to weight. It's quite minor compared to some things here, but I just felt so betrayed by my own body, exercising and eating well and yet still gaining weight and feeling terrible about myself. Unreciprocated love. If it's true love, the kind you have poets writing about, rather than just some feelings or a crush, it's just absolutely soul crushing. I know this may seem tame compared to other stuff in this thread, but it still really fricks you up mentally. Getting cheated on. It's an absolute betrayal of what should be complete trust. You feel like you're going crazy and start to question everything else that you thought was true. I don't believe that relationships ever really recover from that. For me, it was working in horse breeding. I'm not sure why everyone seemed to thought it was a cool, desirable job. It's dangerous. It's messy. It's gross. The smells were horrible. Hands covered in stallion smegma at the end of every day. Leaving a cult you grew up in. Imagine being told you would be losing an eternity of happiness and possibly lose your family and friends forever. I slept on the couch for 6 months and had started interviewing attorneys for divorce. My wife threatened to leave me and take our kids. My in-laws wrote a letter about me leaving and mailed it to all my siblings and in-laws. I stopped getting birthday and Christmas cards. Many close friends dropped me on social media and quit answering calls. It took 3 years to get to a new normal and my family to treat me like a family member again. I was a lucky one. Most have it much worse than I did. Childbirth. Not experienced directly, but having been in the room 3 times. 2 of those were the worst days of my life, without exaggeration. Just awful. I'm surprised this isn't up higher. People really sugarcoat it, calling it discomfort to have your body ripped apart from the inside. And everyone's different, so some will go around saying, oh, it's not so bad, and the doctors can be jerks. Being discriminated, made fun of for your race. It's really not that funny. Grow up. I've always just brushed it off as a joke, but it still hurts sometimes. Constantly being asked if I eat dogs or cats, and people making fun of my name. Other races also experience far worse than that. I don't get how you find amusement in that. Having someone you care about addicted to drugs or alcohol. I thought I could help them quit and tried everything I could think of to no avail. I became a shell of my former self until I found support. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.